Well, hello, and thank you for being with us. I am Gary Burns from Gary Burns International.
And I'm Cheryl Devon from Speaking with Cher.
We're inviting you to spend a few minutes with us, and this is around the topic of speaking. And sometimes when we think about speaking, we get that tight chest, we get the butterflies in the stomach, and we have this tendency to say it's not about us. This is not something for us in our business. And, when people ask me how long I have been speaking, I always tell them about from the age of 2, because speaking is nothing more than having a conversation. And that's what we're going to be doing. And, after giving over 1,000 talks over my career, doing it on all the major networks, PBS, TEDx, what I have learned is that speaking is the best way to showcase who we are to a larger audience to be able to have impact.
And that's funny that you talk about it's one of the best tools to use, because one of the conversations I've been having recently with people is they want to be seen, they want to speak, they are terrified to do it, whether it's getting on camera for social media, whether it's getting up in front of your colleagues, perhaps at a networking event. It's tough to be seen and to stand out when you feel like you're falling straight over your own tongue. And that's why Gary and I have collaborated to bring you some tips and tricks on how to turn speaking into a business, how to make it work for you to be a tool in your business portfolio.
And what's exciting is that Cheryl comes out of live radio.
I do. I spoke for 20 plus years in morning show radio, and I probably have done 6,000 interviews. I think we counted that up the one day, about 6,000 interviews over the course of that time. And it's funny because you would see people come into the studio and they're all seasoned professionals, whether they're comedians, actors, musicians, and they get up in front of that microphone in that setting, in a media setting, and they're terrified. They don't know what to say. But I think the big thing is, Gary, would you not agree that it's because in that moment you're making it about yourself rather than about the other person instead of just having that one-on-one conversation?
That's very true. And, some of you may be wondering if you really want to invest the time to listen to Cheryl and I. And we have a couple of very special guests with us. And what I'd like to give you is, what we call the bold promise. Whether or not you're wanting to speak as a trainer, a one-on-one in networking events, anything where you're conveying a message, it could be on media, it could be on a larger stage. You might even want to have an event on your own, and maybe it's a training or it could be a summit. There's so many things that you could be doing today in business for you to be truly to expand the awareness of what you do, who you are, and the value you bring to the table. So that's our big promise. We're going to be covering this on how, in a very broad arena, is to be able to bring you some tips and tricks of what to look for. What does it take to be a speaker? And so we really wanted just to spend a few minutes with you to see if some of the things that we're doing will have relevance in your business, in your career.
Now, I know if you're anything like me, and perhaps like the rest of us here, you think that sounds like a great idea and you'll get around to it. Or you sit back and think to yourself, I'd really like to do this. I'd really like to learn this, but I just don't have the time. Or it's going to cost too much. There's a million different excuses. But think about this. If you wait until later, but the people that you're competing with are making that progress, you're either staying where you are or you're being left behind. It comes down to the now versus later. And opportunities are seldom convenient. Sometimes you just have to push through and see the rewards for that. And I think one of the best examples I can give of someone who went ahead, whether it was convenient or not, pushed through and has just done dynamic things in the past year is Julie Jones. Julie, you were with Gary and I and went through our
Mhm.
speaker boot camp,
Yep.
learning the ropes there.
Right, right. And talk about push through. My father had passed away that week. And so I went anyway because I knew that life would go on and that I needed the skill set in order to grow my business. And so I went, and I was so glad that I did. I learned so much. I have been on about 5 stages since our boot camp. The last stage I was on was just a couple of weeks ago. I closed out a national sales conference for an IT company that was celebrating 50 years in business, and they asked me to come close them out. So it was an honor and a privilege. And every time I get on a stage, I hear you and I hear Gary saying things like, be the easiest speaker anyone has worked with. What can you do to make these event planners' lives easier? What is the clear and concise focus of your message? And if you get there, like me, when I got there, and they said, look, we've been sitting all day and you stand between this audience and the bar. So don't make it long. So it was supposed to be 45 minutes out in and out in 30 minutes, man, let's get out of here. So I was able to, on the fly, adjust my talk so that it was motivational, it was inspirational, it was exactly what they wanted, but we got them out because they needed to get out. And so these are the kinds of things that we've learned, the practice that we get, the interviews, just the tips and tricks on how to really get in front of people is invaluable.
And
And go ahead.
oh, I was just saying, and it's, I mean, it's made such a difference for you. I've
Yeah.
watched you in a year go uh, from you weren't quite certain to you are vibrant and thriving and you are successful. A lot of
Yeah.
times a lot of people think they're in the pursuit of happiness, but that happiness comes with that inconvenience and
Yes.
with that feeling of I'm not so sure that this is good. I'm uncomfortable. What most people end up being is in the pursuit of comfort. But there's a lot of really miserable, comfortable people if you've looked around.
Oh
They're
my
complaining
goodness.
about where they're at and they don't like it.
Yes.
It's the pursuit
So,
of happiness where it takes you out of your comfort zone. And that's exactly where
yeah.
you went.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was okay. So my dad died. Do I just stay here or do and I even had to tell my family, look, we're not going to be able to have the funeral till next week because I'm plans this weekend. And I felt horrible about it, saying, oh my gosh, you can have the funeral if you want to, but I won't be there because I've already had this in mind. I've already paid for it. It's important to my future. And I know Dad would want me to do this, right? Dad wouldn't want me to not go. And so I went. But when you were talking about getting uncomfortable, I sat on a call earlier today that was an educational call, and there is a part of the brain called the anterior cingulate cortex. And it is what it controls the functions, the cognitive functions, impulse, empathy, emotions, and decision making. It only grows when you do something you don't want to do. When you're in your comfort zone, it shrinks. So if you want to continue to expand this part of your brain and you want to continue to grow and have better impulse control, to have more empathy, to be better at decision making, to do things that you don't want to do, you need to get up and do it anyway. So you don't want to get up at 5:30 and work out, do it anyway, because that is what's going to grow this part of your brain. And so, no, I did not want to go last year. I was torn, and I didn't want to get on stage at the first day. I just needed to kind of chill. but I did it anyway. And the great thing about getting up there the first day is I realized, oh, I know how I can improve this. Day 2 was so much better. And then day 3 was the best day. So getting on stage, even when you don't want to, is what really helps you grow.
It really does. And,
Mhm.
one of the things that I think all of us struggle with is time. And, we will always max out if we're doing a one-to-one service, if we're having to take an hour to deliver whatever that product or service is, and we're going to max out. And what speaking actually does, it opens up that one to many. And when I was building my original businesses in financial planning and in real estate, I started looking at those that went before me. And one of my mentors, if you will, who I'd never had the opportunity to meet, was Sam Walton. And most of us know Sam Walton was the brains behind Walmart. And what he said is that he knew that he could serve the classes and live with the masses, or he could serve the masses and live with the classes. And the thing that we have available to us now is technology, just like what we're doing here, is that we have the ability to approach and impact people around the world. And we can do it in a way that is time conserving for us, to where a lot of people, one of their main concerns is work-life balance. And so when we look at what it is that we want to do, if we have a product or service that we really believe in, most of us really want to impact more people. That's our desire. And to be able to do it in so many different ways. And we're going to give you some of those things, the ways that we have done and that all of us are doing in our speaking careers. And I use that term a little bit lightly because most people think that speaking careers is only doing it on large stages, but there's so many different ways to use your speaking abilities in the business of speaking, so that you will not only have the time but the energy for the benefits of doing what you do without sacrificing yourself, your family, your health. And so it is a balance. So really what we're talking about is investing instead of spending. I always talked about investing is that you take a dollar bill from your right pocket, you put it in your left pocket, and you really, it was an investment. You're expecting a return on the investment. If we're just throwing dollars out there and spending, hoping for a return, my financial planning background, really rebels against that. It's just like, that's like going to Las Vegas and putting everything on red 21. And it's more of a hope than a strategy. And going into any business, speaking included, we need strategies. We need a process so that we can have more of that predictable possibility to probability. And when we have that, we have more of the track to run on, where most people just go out and go, here I am, what do I do? And it's that hope. And we want you to have some hope, but we want you to have more of that knowledge, that knowing.
It's funny you talk about the whole investing rather than spending. And I was guilty of the spending originally. I think I invested, we figured out it was about 60,000 that I threw away in various programs and coaches, and you name it, I threw it, and I didn't have any focus. And so it really was throwing my money, my time, because I was working extra hours, but I was going in circles because I didn't really have clarity in what I wanted to say, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. I had this background where I came from speaking, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I threw way too much money away and had to learn the hard way. I would love to be able to save you that time, that trouble, and that expense, and learn to invest in yourself. get that focus and that clarity, figure out the best way. And that's something that Gary and I can help you do. Figure out where to focus your energy in those conversations, how to fine tune that. And then you're investing in yourself because you are going to get that return on that investment. It will come back. Julie.
Oh my gosh, can I just add on to that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Because I think a lot of times when we think we're investing in ourselves, and I've done the same thing, Cheryl, I've invested in coaches and programs, and I've walked away going, they told me what I should be doing. They told me what to do, but they didn't tell me how to do it. And I think that's what makes this speaker boot camp so different, is that you walk away with a kit. You walk away with tools, and you not only know what to do, but you know how to do it. And if there's any questions, you two are always available. So that has been huge for me.
And that brings up a thought for me, is that a lot of times people don't do things, whether to do it or not to do it, out of fear. And I remember when I did my TEDx, the organizer had never spoken on stage before, and he had contracted with a major facility, 20,000 seats, and the stage was over 200 feet long. I mean, this was a major endeavor, and we're walking out from the introduction of the stages to the other speakers. And he said, Gary, you have spoken so many times around the world and all the things you've done. It must be like falling out of bed. You're never, how do you get your butterflies to go away? And I said, well, you don't have your butterflies go away. You get them to fly in formation. And so there's a way of using that fear. I feel, Cheryl feels that fear is actually beneficial because it attunes our senses to the audience. It allows us to pay attention to things that if you think about any time you're afraid in anything, maybe there's a shadow in the yard or whatever, all of a sudden your spidey senses come up. You have more awareness about where you are, what's going on, which actually makes you more valuable. And so fear can be that propellant to put you on the stage and actually give you more credibility for actually being on the stage. Because it's always been said, what is the number one fear in particularly the United States? And it's the fear of speaking. Death is number 3. I have never heard what number 2 is. If somebody
The
knows,
dentist. It's the
the
dentist.
dentist. Okay.
Yeah.
So, speaking, dentist, death. I don't know where that actually, falls in line, but it's really taking that energy. And Delton is someone that has actually experienced that because he is another one of our graduates. And Delton, would you like to share a little bit of your story?
Well, part of my story is strictly about fear, about fear and overcoming fear, and just when I matter of fact, before I even went down there, I know I tried to Sheila vouched for me. I tried to get out of it a couple times. I tried, but it didn't work. So when I got down there, day one, I was nervous, uh, hands sweating. Day two, just like Julie said, day two, you get a little bit better. And day three, you feel like you're ready to go. But initially, the fear of taking that first step to actually show up is huge. It's huge. And what I didn't realize before, what I've realized now, is that it was truly about ego. It was truly about my ego. It was truly about me not wanting to be embarrassed, or me not being able to be perfect doing this. And then I realized that now, but then I was just making up excuses. I don't have the time. The money is like, I had all kinds of excuses. And it really was just about, I didn't want to look like a fool on stage. But then when I got up there, after, like I said, by the end of day 3, when you're doing your speech and you're doing your interview and all that, you're actually so comfortable. And I don't know if this makes sense or not, but you're actually so comfortable where you zone out from time to time. because you're so relaxed, you just allow the flow of your thoughts and your energy and all that to just flow through you and then come out, and you really don't remember half of what you said. I had to go back and watch my speech, and I was like, I said that? I said, wow, that was pretty good.
It was very good.
It was pretty good. Yeah. So it's all about just taking that first leap and trusting yourself. I mean, because we've all lived a lot of life. We've all been through a lot of things, a lot of challenges. We've all had a lot of victories and a lot of failures and all that. And this is just another step along the way. So don't fear it at all. Don't let your ego keep you from doing it or having too much fear when you do it. It doesn't matter if you're day one or day, 20 years down the line, like Cheryl and Gary had to stress to me many times. We're all on the same road. We're just at different mile markers. We're all doing the same thing. We're just at different points. And that's something they had to repeat to me several times. I'm almost embarrassed about how nervous I was and how much trepidation I had, the first day and a half to 2 days. But it all worked out, and it really truly was a personal development experience.
Something you said really resonated with me when you said it was about ego and about being perfect. We talk about become perfectly imperfect. There has never been a perfect speech. There's been good ones, there's been great ones, but there's never been a perfect one. And really, it's about that communication again. And when we go up there, you said it's about ego. When we realize that we are just a conduit of a message. And so we're somewhat of, this may sound weird, but we're a tool. We're allowing a message to come through us to impact others in the audience that we may never have the opportunity to individually meet. We have no idea, but there's a reason that you've been given that opportunity. And so when we step into that fear, you had a saying, and I'm not remembering it. Do you remember what you said about fear?
Yeah. I said, step into fear to build the momentum to take that leap of faith.
It was stepping into fear.
Yeah, step into fear.
Because fear is going to be there whether we do it or we don't. And you instinctively, and for some people, it may not be the right time, and that's fair. But a lot of times we're afraid just because it is something new, something different, something we've never done before. And so we're always going to have that. If we all remember the first day of school, no matter what grade, and particularly when that transition from elementary to junior high and junior high to high school, and you go, oh man, where do my pecking order now? I'm the low man on the totem pole. But there's always that newness is there. And what you're saying, after that 3 days, you were part of the group.
Yeah. And I think a big part of it was I don't know if this is a big part of the speaking realm or community, but it's that vulnerability. You're on stage in front of everybody and you're the center of attention. That's a very vulnerable position to be in. So, and I think that's part of the fear as well that you have to overcome when you realize you're really just talking. You're really just talking. It's like it took after the 3 days for me to realize you're just talking. Your voice that I struggled to find while I was there was simply me trying to do more than just talk. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it's becoming something, really our intent is for each individual to come out who they already are, not to become someone else, not to become that orator, not to, there's a saying that we have is to be the same on stage as you are off stage. Have that credibility going both ways. And when you have that, that makes total sense. So thank you. Really appreciate it. I'm proud of you both.
Absolutely. It's funny. He's talking about that, trying to be something that you're not, and you discuss the vulnerability and being the same person on stage as off. I come with a little bit of a different experience, as Gary and I are doing this together, but I originally was an attendee at the speaker boot camp. And it seems really strange coming from a 20 plus year in radio. I had 3 number 1 morning shows, and yet I showed up with some serious imposter syndrome. And I think you're right, Delton. I think it came down to the ego. I went for so long in this little bubble with a created persona in radio that I didn't feel like I belonged on a stage just being me. I had been Cher on the air. I didn't know how to be Cheryl Devon. And it comes down to something that Gary will say many times. And I know that you two have heard him say it too, that what you see as ordinary, and I felt like I was just ordinary, others see as extraordinary. And we go into a section on imposter syndrome and what that is, how to get over that. I had to learn it. I had to learn that too. You can come in there thinking you don't belong. You do. Everyone deserves to have that voice. And if I hadn't pulled that trigger, I wouldn't have the business, and I wouldn't have the privilege of teaching others to find their voice and how to make their voice work for them. It's not unique to everyone, but I think you're right. I think it comes down to ego.
Well, you know, it's amazing that a common question that I get is, when did you get over the imposter syndrome? And my answer is, I'll let you know when I do. Those old messages will always be with us. And it comes back to your messaging. Why are you doing what you're doing? What is that purpose? So it becomes less about, in what Delton was saying, is less about us than about the message to another human being, another group, another impact. And it becomes very exciting when we do that, because we can let go of outcome. And that's something that we teach you, is how to let go of outcome. And because when we do that, we can be so centered. And truly, Delton and Julie, I know, and I know Cheryl does that. When I get off stage and people said, "How did you do?" I go, "Ask somebody that was there, because I don't remember what I said." And you may be saying that's dangerous. And I go, no, because we're really sharing. It's just a conversation. And when you learn the little tips and
The secrets.
the secrets, if you will, and they're really not secrets when you hear it and we put it in a way for you to access it and implement it, you go, well, that's just common knowledge.
Yeah, one of those.
That's like, yes. And so it is something that, you know, it's stepping into the unknown is always the unknown. One of my Garyisms is, the first time always is. But we designed this really specifically so that, you know, we're really taking everybody's hand. And we're doing it in such a way, and it's in a small group, that you become a very close community very quickly.
Absolutely. You get so many things out of it, not just the relationships and the secrets, if you will. You get so many tools. I mean, this is probably, in fact, it is the most comprehensive speaker boot camp I've ever seen. And I had looked around. As I said, I was originally an attendee. I had looked around at different programs. Nowhere did I find a place where it was the price that it was at for all the different. And I mean, we include so many things. Like one of the things that we do is we help you craft your speaking persona. Again, it's not you being somebody else, but how to be more comfortable in that professional setting, whether you're on a stage or on a podcast, in that corporate training, in a networking event. That's one of the big things that we will teach you how to do, is how to feel more confident in yourself, in your professional speaking persona.
You know, and part of that is recognizing the specialness that you have already, whether it's something you achieved or you are going to achieve, or just who you are. And by going back for a moment, again, to the fear side of it, we are most afraid normally right at the beginning of any talk, no matter if it's on a podcast or on an interview or on a main stage or doing a training. It really doesn't matter. And so it's really, really important to have what we call this signature opening. And that signature opening is we help you craft that. And that's that first 2.5 minutes of any talk where you come in and you have it down so pat that you never have to think about what you're saying. Because what it allows you to do is to get to where you're supposed to be to deliver your talk. And so you don't have to really worry about, am I going to forget something or where am I going with this? It allows you to center in the room and also allows you to connect with the audience in a very special way. And we show you the very special techniques to do that because it happens in just 2 to 2.5 minutes of any talk. The other thing is I find there's my business attributes that I have used in my financial planning practices that I've had. I no longer I'm a recovering financial planner. I'm very proud of that. But I built one of the largest financial planning firms in the country, the top 3% in production. And so when we started looking at the business of speaking, it's different than doing the techniques of the practice of speaking to the deliverable. But I firmly look at knowing how to be in the business of speaking is equally important as being effective on stage. The reason for that is that if you're not good in the business of speaking, you're not going to be here in 3 years to continue your impact. And so we really go into this to show you how to develop that side of it. And there is a strategy around that because most people come in and just, they're so, happy that somebody wants them to talk. Somebody wants me. Well, that's great. But what we're going to teach you, number one, is how to never speak for free again. But it doesn't
Exactly.
always mean that there's going to be money. There's other ways to be paid, and sometimes those other ways pays bigger dividends than an initial paycheck.
That's right. We'll show you how to never speak for free again. Because let's face it, if you want to learn to be in the business of speaking or how to use speaking as a business tool, you want to make some money from it, don't you? Don't we all? I'll just address that elephant in the room. Yes, you want to make some money. So we'll show you those secrets on how to set your speaker fee and never speak for free again. And then, of course, with Gary's business acumen, we got some contracts for you.
We do, and I had one of my clients years ago had just published a national book with a national publisher. And she called me up. Somebody wanted her to speak. And she goes, what do I charge? And I go, well, what do you want to charge? And she goes, $300. I go, no, $5,000. And she goes, can I say that? I go, only if you're willing. She called them back. I said, call me right back after you talk to them. And so she does. And I said, well, what did you say? Or what did they say? No, she said, I couldn't say that. It got stuck in her throat. I said, well, what did you say? She goes, $3,000. And I said, well, what was their reaction? She goes, they wanted to know if they could courier me the check that afternoon. I go, how do you feel? She goes, stupid. But well, it was getting used to what the rules are to play the game. And that same speaker now goes out for $15,000 to $20,000 a talk. And she's an international speaker. So, and this is not a promise that you're going to be making all the glory and all the big numbers or whatever. But here's the principle. If we don't know what is expected as a professional speaker, you're not going to know how to create your contracts. Contracts are very, very important because there are situations you'll get in that people will make verbal promises and you get to a location and they go, well, we didn't say that, and you're already there. So this is part of being in the business of speaking and knowing how to negotiate those contracts, what to ask for, how to ask for it, how to mediate what you want, what they want, and come together for a positive outcome for that event. And there's times that it really is a serendipitous type of situation. Another situation I had years ago, where when my fee was only $5,000, is uh, a national hospital chain wanted me to speak at their conference, and I said, sure. We had negotiated everything except the money. And when we got done with that, they said, oh, wait, we need to talk about money. What's your fee? And I said, well, now my standard fee is $5,000. Does that work for you? And they said, well, we don't have a lot of money. And so as it turned out, they didn't. They only had a budget for a national event of $10,000. And here I am asking for half of it. And I said, what number would make you really happy? And they go, what? I go, what number would put a smile on your face? And they said, $2,500. And I said, done. I got on every publication. I was on every media outlet. I was the only non-doctor on the entire I couldn't have afforded all the free media that I got in endorsements that I received from this very huge organization. And so those are some of the things that we're going to be training and teaching you how to do in the negotiation skill.
One of the other things that we're going to teach you how to do is make sure you're protecting your intellectual property. So what does that mean? I'll give you an example. This weekend, I was visiting with friends, and the uncle of one of my friends was responsible for writing the Liberty Mutual jingles, lending his voice to those commercials. When he made the deal, he got paid $25 for the jingle, thinking it was a one-time local commercial. You see those Liberty Mutual commercials everywhere. They bought the rights. They went ahead and made that contract with him to pay him $25 to write a jingle. What we teach you is how to take that and negotiate the contract in such a way where you don't get taken for a ride. If someone is videotaping you on a stage, they're not going to take it and play it everywhere else, or at a conference, at a corporate training, even your social media. There are ways that you can protect your intellectual property so that somebody else isn't profiting off of your voice.
And one of the things that every speaker, I believe, would have as a goal is when we speak is to get invited back to speak or to get referrals to speak at other events. And the number one secret to have that happen is actually to be the easiest speaker they have ever worked with. I mean, being in this industry as long as we have seen some really interesting individuals on stages where the ego is in capital letters, bolded, and it's don't you know who you're talking to? It's sad. And so to really walk in as a server is something, there's some techniques and tricks on how to do that. And it's not, look at me, I'm so much better because I do this. It's just we do it because it's the right thing to do. But sometimes we forget of, it'd be a nicety, but we forget to do it. And what we want to do is bring it to the top of mind. Is something as part of your process. And so when you get there and they talk about you, they go, wow, they are so different. I mean, they were easy. We like them. And so they're, free to refer and to bring back at another time as well.
Well, it's not just stages, though, that you learn how to get asked back, but we also teach you how to maximize your media opportunities, whether it's with television and radio, but also with podcasts, because podcasts seem to be a very casual interviewing process. And yet they have the power to put you in front of thousands, if not millions at times. So how do you get asked back to those places? How do you be the best possible media guest, but not just media guest, media host, so that you make certain you always will have guests showing up for your particular platform and your show? You don't want to get up there and 2 weeks after you've started a podcast, you have no guests and you have no podcast. You want to be able to know how to work both sides of the microphone so that you get repeat opportunities and more visibility. We'll also teach you how to use social media to propel that visibility. And once again, become one of the most engaging speakers to propel your business that's out there. We want to give you that advantage.
You know, we talk about all these these are really important elements, and they all are. But one of the things that is pretty much at the top of the list is how to become an effective storyteller, because that's what people want today. They don't want facts, figures, because here's the realization is that people forget facts. Your name, by the way, is a fact. People will forget it, but they'll remember elements of your story. And inside the story is how to be humorous. I cannot tell a joke if my life depended upon it. I will tell them backwards. I'll tell the punchline before. I mean, it's horrible. You talk about a train wreck, but there's ways of telling stories that is humorous. And when you do that, your audiences will enjoy you because they know you're not going to be boring. And in the stories, it could be about you, it could be about third party individuals and how to do that without getting in trouble. But the thing is that if we start looking at how to convey a message in a story, they will have a much better way of retaining the principle and the message of the story. And so we go deeply into this at the event as well.
I'm going to be the one that brings back the elephant in the room. It's about the money. You want to be able to make a living from this. You want this to be part of elevating your story, but you don't want to be like the used car salesman. You don't want to be that sleazy, slipping into the DMs kind of a person. I don't know you, but hey, you need me, that kind of a thing. I refer to that, and it's trademarked as pitch slapping. We will teach you how to get yourself out there and to show your products and to showcase without pitch slapping your audience. There are ways to do it where it doesn't feel so salesy.
You know, and what we're really saying is you don't have to sell from stage. It's a matter of how to share from stage.
Exactly.
And when you do that, you literally will become a people magnet. People will want to be around you. People will want to connect to you. And so part of this is just understanding how to do that and that connection to your audience in a secondary form. What do you want after you speak? It's not just about speaking. Again, going back to the business of speaking, it's about an ongoing connection, an ongoing relationship. And when we have those threads, then we will have those opportunities after we get off the stage.
We're also going to teach you how to dress for success. And that doesn't mean that you have to be all stuffy and, the suit and tie and the dress with the heels up to here. No, you get to be your own unique individual, but there are a few things that you need to look out for when you're on a stage or in front of a camera. We'll address those for men, for women, for whatever the situation is. We will teach you how to best dress for success.
One of the unique things about this program is we designed it so that it's not just sitting at a table and taking notes. You're on stage 3 times. This is something that we were really intent about because you need the practical experience to be able to know, okay, what do I need to hone? What do I need to change? And by the way, when we talk about creating your talk, we actually give you what's called the train formula, how to actually create a talk. And if you come to a situation to where, like what Julie just did, to where she had her talk, it was scheduled for X number of minutes, and they said, could you shorten it? And can you? Now it can happen on the other side. They could say, hey, my next speaker didn't show up. Could you take their time as well? So using the train formula, you're going to be able to adjust on the fly and be able to do it in such a way that people will never know what you were just asked to do, but the meeting planner does. And those are the people that, meeting planners, it's really unique, is that they never get kudos for a good speaker, but they always get blamed for a bad one. So what we're there is to really shore up them and make sure they look good.
And it's the same way with media interviews. You want to make your host look good, but your talk in a media interview is going to be just a bit different than it would be from your talk on a stage, where you need to learn how to speak in sound bites. And that's a section that we spend a great deal of time on, is teaching you how to do professional media interviews. In fact, you'll get a professional media interview during our speaker bootcamp events. You'll also get the professional headshots that you need as you're sending over your bio, or sending over your speaker one sheets to an event planner at an event that you would like to keynote at. We'll also make certain that you get multi-camera angle video for your demo and sizzle reel, where you get to showcase yourself on the stage. As Gary said, you've got 3 opportunities to be there, all done by a professional photographer, professional videographer. We include that in the boot camp for you.
You know, and something that Julie said is that we don't only give you the information, we give you the tools to, when you leave the event, to actually start applying for speeches or podcasts or summits, whatever. We have contracted with Speakertunity. And Speakertunity, we have given you 3 months of information from them. And so you're going to have access to actual opportunities the day that you leave. And so that's something we wanted to leave you, or to, push you out of the nest and actually say, okay, now I know what to do. I know how to do it, but where do I do it? And we wanted to give you that access. And there's going to be other tools that we give you along those lines as well. But Speakertunity is something that you're going to have for the first 3 months.
You'll also get the opportunity to get your hands on a couple of different speaker one sheets, because if you're going to apply to those events that you get through your 3 months free in Speakertunity, you want to have something to provide to those event planners. And that's something that we call that speaker one sheet. We'll help you develop your own speaker one sheet, whether it's a style like Gary's, a style like mine. Actually, it's going to be more of a style your own, but you'll have the opportunity to get your hands on a professional speaker one sheet as well.
Well, and we do another bonus, and that I do a business building 3-day business summit, if you will, in person. And at the end of the 3 days, we ask the attendees, the people actually in the class, to vote who they believe did the best. And one person is going to get a spot on my stage in September here in Denver, to be on that stage and do the talk here. And
So you'll
so,
be able to put that national stage on your resume.
yes. And so it's really fun. But originally I was kind of looking at it, and Cheryl and I would decide, and I went, that's above my pay grade. And so now we just have the group do it, and it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. And you'll find that the Speaker Bootcamp is it's a program that can be used for every event. I know we've said it before, but it really does apply to everything from small networking and small group presentations to corporate trainings, breakout sessions, the keynote speaking and stage events, all the different media opportunities. It really is the perfect tool, probably one of the most important tools you can incorporate into your business. And of course, we've got Speaker Bootcamp coming up in just a few weeks once again.
Yep. And it's interesting because we limit the group to 14 people. And it's been said, those that break bread together really build strong bonds. And we provide lunch all 3 days. Mm-hmm. And it is something that we really encourage the support within the group. And each class is unique, but what happens is that each class is a very supportive organism, what it becomes. And then we also have an alumni Facebook group to support everyone after this as well.
So as you're looking to continue on, if you have questions, we're always accessible. And with that alumni Facebook group, you always You always have a place to come where we can either answer your questions or support you, applaud you, watch you grow, and you in turn can help others along the way.
So you may be wondering, what is the investment? You may notice I didn't say what's the cost, because again, we look at this as an investment of what is going to be your return on that investment. And to be able to do everything, and we provide at our investment into you for the headshots, for the videos, for all of the things that you get at the event. And we have kept the investment low at only $2,997. And I don't know of another event out there at this where you're actually getting on stage, you're getting film, you're getting your headshots for that low investment.
I've seen them as I was searching originally for a speaker boot camp. Some of the costs that I've seen have been anywhere from 6,000 for just being in attendance to 25,000 to get maybe 2 minutes on a stage somewhere without the headshots, without any of that. This really and truly is the most comprehensive speaker boot camp in existence today.
You know, one of the reasons I was recently asked why we don't charge more. And the reality is the investment's going to go up because of what the investment in some of the tools that we are providing, those are going up. But frankly, I want to keep it as low as possible because we need more speakers. We need more people out there doing it in a way that is truly impactful. And it's not just about the money. It's not, grabbing all the attention. It's not about them. And, I had the privilege of being mentored by Jim Rohn and some of the early people in the industry. And there was a different mentality in that era than there is many times in what we see in the marketing area now. It's a flash and dance, but how to be impactful. And so the desire here is truly give you a tremendous benefit, a tremendous value, walk away, tools, tips, so that you can craft your new speaking business, or if you're already a speaker, how to enhance it, how to enlarge it, how to engage on larger stages, larger impacts, and really develop the style that fits you. Oh, and something we didn't say, some people might say, well, I'm an introvert, is speaking something for me? I go, absolutely. And here's the funny secret is most actors, actresses, speakers that I know, most of us, I consider introverts. We're not party people. We're, there are some, but really what it is that when we're on stage, we're giving. And so the introvert can give, but knowing that they have the time to fill themselves up again. So this is really for all the different personalities and backgrounds. There's if you have a story, which means if you have had a life, you have a place on the stage, and there's a seat at the table, but the only one that can claim that seat on the table is you. And we invite you to reach out to us with any questions. Our next event is coming up in Dallas, Texas.
Absolutely.
April 4, 5, and 6. And there are still some seats available for that. So, we just encourage you. If this has been inspirational at all, if it's given you any kind of insights of what maybe would be a right fit for you, please reach out to us.
If you have any questions whatsoever, you can always ask Gary and I. I'll go ahead and in the comment section, I'll put the ways that you can reach out to us, but you can always ask questions at info@garybarnesinternational.com, or you can reach out to me, share@speakingwithshare.com. Gary and I answer everything. We're always happy to chat with you and show you how your voice, there is that one person that's not only wanting, but needs to hear it.
So real quick, Again, Julie and Delton, thank you so much. Do you have any last words that you'd like to share before we say goodbye for the moment?
Do it.
Yeah. It's a great value. I mean, what you walk away from is just so much more than what you can imagine. And it's a wonderful experience. So I encourage everyone to do it
Yeah.
and
if
come
you,
to Dallas.
yeah, and if you go, only advice I would have is to play full out. Don't go in there half stepping. Don't go in there kind of participating. Go full out.
Yeah.
Give it your all. You'll
Great
truly see
advice.
the difference. You'll truly see the difference in 3 days.
Yeah.
So, Cheryl, any last words?
Step into your fear, invest in yourself, invest in your business, find your voice.
And what I would say, are you a participant or are you a spectator? It's your choice. And it is a choice for each and every one of us. So thank you for being with us. Reach out to us, and hopefully we'll see you very, very soon on a stage near you.